Welcome to Mindful Leadership, Transforming Lives, with your host, Singh. This is where leadership meets purpose, presence, and passion. In today's fast-paced, high-pressure world, we face a leadership crisis. Too often, teams are led by managers who lack empathy, clarity, and vision, leaving individuals uninspired, disconnected, and undervalued. But it doesn't have to be this way. Great leadership isn't born, it's built. The end game: empower your leadership, inspire the world. Every week, join me, your host Singh, as we tackle the gaps in leadership and life coaching head on, learning how mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and compassion can redefine success. This isn't just another podcast, it's a mission to fill the void left by ineffective leadership. And it's not just about leadership in business. Life coaching for leaders and new executives is at heart of this journey. Ready to rise above the noise and lead with clarity, purpose, and impact? Join a global movement dedicated to reshaping the future of leadership one mindful moment at a time. Let's begin.
Welcome back to another welcome back to another episode of Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives on the Transformation Network. The podcast where we tackle the chaos of leadership and life and somehow come out on top without completely losing our minds or sense of humor. Because let's face it, if you're not laughing, you're crying. And no one wants to hear you ugly cry during a Zoom meeting. So today's topic, empathy. That's right. Empathy, the secret sauce of leadership that most people either underestimate or mess up completely. And before you roll your eyes thinking, oh, great, another lecture about feelings, let me stop you right there. Empathy isn't just about being nice. This is not a kindergarten. Empathy is strategic. It's the foundation for trust, better communication, and honestly, better decisions. Empathy is what separates great leaders or super leaders from the ones who think leadership is just about barking orders and sending passive aggressive emails. Now, think about it. How many times have you worked with someone who lacked empathy? They steamrolled through decisions, ignored input, and made you feel like a cog in the machine. And how did that work out? It didn't, right? So now here's the kicker: empathy isn't soft, it's a power move. When you lead with empathy, you are just not being nice. You are strategically building trust, loyalty, and connection, which, by the way, is how you get to actually want to follow you. And let's be real, there is a big difference between people following you because they have to and people following you because they want to. So, for example, let's look at the world right now. We have got CEOs making headlines for how they handle layoffs. You have seen the ones who bought it, right? They send cold emails, your services are no longer needed, and everyone loses their mind on it. But then there are the leaders who show up with empathy. They acknowledge the impact, they communicate with transparency, and they treat people like, humans. And guess what? Those leaders don't just protect their reputation, they build trust for the long haul. It's like this: if leadership is a game of chess, empathy is your queen. It's versatile, powerful, and if you use it right, it changes the game. But if you ignore it, well, good luck. You're basically playing checkers with everyone else is playing 4D chess. So here is what we are going to break down in this episode: why empathy matters as a leader. I know it's not just about being liked. Okay. How to balance empathy with business goals without losing control or coming across as a pushover. And as always, practical steps you can take today to lead with purpose, especially when life feels like a one big dumpster fire. And if you stick with me for next 20 minutes, I promise you will walk away with at least one empathy hack you can use immediately, whether it's a meeting, a tough conversation, or even when your kids ask for the 10th time why pizza can't be a food group. So let's dive in. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, the biggest myth about empathy. And you have heard it before. empathy is weakness. Chew. Karo lie, right? People think that if you're too empathetic, you're basically inviting everyone to walk over you. Like you're handing out free passes to slack off. Now, that is not true. Empathy isn't about being dormant, it's about connection. And connection, my friends, is the power. Because when you connect with people, you unlock trust, loyalty, and collaboration, the holy trinity of great leadership. Without empathy, you are just managing people. Well, with empathy, you are leading them. So let's bring in this conversation the real world. Did anyone catch the recent story about CEO of Airbnb, Brian Chesky? During the pandemic, the travel industry was basically on life support. Airbnb had to lay off 25% of their workforce. Do you know how Chesky handled it? He wrote a letter to his employees that went viral. And it wasn't one of those cookie cutter, we regret to inform you kind of corporate email. It was raw, it was real. He acknowledged the pain this would cause and explained the decision with transparency. And the kicker is he offered support to help people land on their feet. Well, he didn't just say good luck out there. He created a talent directory to help employees find new jobs and gave them generous service package. Now that's empathy in action. And guess what? Not only did it soften the blow for employees who were leaving, it also strengthened the loyalty of the ones who stayed. Chesky didn't just rebuild trust, he reinforced Airbnb's reputation as a company that cares. And let's be honest, how many CEOs handle layoffs like this? Most of them sound like they're reading from a script written by a bot. Thank you for your service and wish you all in the future endeavors. Translation, you're fired. Please don't leave a bad Glassdoor review. But Chesky, he showed up like a human. And that's what people remember. Now, let's bring it closer to home. Ponder this. You're leading a team and one of your employee misses a deadline. What's your first reaction? If you are like most people, you might think, why can't they just get it together? And maybe you even say something like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you get this done? Right? This sounds very familiar, isn't it? Now let's flip the script a bit. Imagine instead of jumping straight to frustration, you pause and ask, hey, what's going on? Is there something getting in the way? Can we discuss? That simple question changes everything. 9 times out of 10, you will find that the issue isn't laziness, it's something you can actually solve or support. Maybe they didn't have the right resources. Maybe they are juggling too much. Maybe they are just overwhelmed and did not know how to ask for help. And sometimes, let's be real, it's something completely ridiculous. Like the time an employee told me they missed a deadline because a cat spilled coffee on their laptop. I mean, what do you even say to that? Tell your cat to get it together? But here's the thing. By leading with empathy, you're not just solving the immediate problem, you're building trust. You're showing your team, hey, I've got your back. And trust, that's what keeps teams motivated, even when things get tough. So here's the deal. Empathy isn't soft. It's one of the hardest and most strategic things you can do as a leader. It requires you to pause, listen, and see the bigger picture. But when you do, you will find that people don't just work harder, they work smarter and they work with you, not just for you. So, whether you are running a company, leading a team, or just trying to get your toddler to eat their vegetables, empathy, empathy, empathy. Empathy is your secret weapon and use it. All right. Let's shift gears here because empathy isn't just something you talk about, it's something you practice. And if you're sitting there thinking, great, now I've got homework, don't worry. This exercise, as always, quick, painless, and might just blow your mind a little. Empathy is kind of, it's like going to the gym, except instead of lifting weights, you're flexing your curiosity. And trust me, the results are just as powerful. So let's see if we can do this together. Here's what I want you to do. Think of a recent interaction where you found yourself frustrated with someone. Maybe coworker who missed a deadline, a client who kept changing scope of a project, or even your partner who used the last of the coffee and conveniently forgot to mention you. See, we have all been there. Okay. So got something in mind? Good. Now ask yourself two questions. What might they have been dealing with that you didn't know? Take 30 seconds and reflect. Seriously, this is your moment to pause. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you're at home, at your desk, go ahead and take a beat. Okay. So once you have once you have that question, what might they have been dealing with that you didn't know about? The second question, if the roles were reversed, what would you want them to understand about your situation? Right? If instead of your coworker not finishing the work, you did not finish the work, what would you want them to understand about your situation? All right. How did that feel? Did it shift your perspective even just a little? Maybe, maybe you realized that the coworker who missed the deadline wasn't slacking, they were juggling five projects. Or the client who kept changing things, maybe they were under pressure from their boss and didn't know how to communicate it. See, here's the thing, empathy starts with curiosity. When you stop assuming and start asking, you open the door to connection. And connection, that's where real leadership begins. Now, I will admit sometimes this exercise doesn't go as planned. Like the time I tried to empathize and someone who kept showing up late to meetings, I thought maybe they are dealing with something heavy, like a sick kid, a personal crisis, I don't know. And I asked, "Hey, everything is okay?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, I just lost track of time when I was scrolling TikTok." I mean, seriously, guys, not exactly what I expected, but even then, that conversation opened the door to accountability, and we were able to work on a solution. See, empathy doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but it does mean understanding where it is coming from. So here is your challenge for this week. The next time you're frustrated with someone, pause and ask yourself these two questions. One, what might they be dealing with? And two, if the roles were reversed, what would you want them to understand about you? And if the answer turns out to be they are just scrolling TikTok, at least you have got a funny story to share and hold them accountable. All right, let's take a quick detour into a lighter side of empathy because we all mess up sometimes. Empathy is skill, sure, but it's also one of those things where no matter how much you practice, there's always room for, well, good old face palm moment. So An absolute classic, right? A while back, I noticed one of my team members looking stressed. And I thought, okay, this is my moment to show some empathy. So, of course, I open my big mouth and say, wow, you look tired. Are you okay? And they just shot back, no, I'm just working hard. Thanks. Roasted. Lesson learned. Never, ever comment on someone's face. It's like telling someone they look sick when they're perfectly fine and no one wins. But hey, at least it taught me a valuable leadership lesson. If you are going to show empathy, maybe don't lead with you look like you haven't slept in weeks. And then there's this jump. One I once emailed someone on my team and said, let me know how I can help. You know, trying to support, be empathetic leader, be supportive. And they they replied with a full 20-point to-do list. Points. I mean, I asked for it, right? But wow, it was like they were just waiting for someone to volunteer as tribute. And here is the funny part of it. One of the points was literally organize my inbox. Like, what am I now? The Mary Kondo of Gmail? Yeah, listen to. When you say, how can I help, be specific. Otherwise, you might find yourself, well, I don't know, alphabetizing someone's emails folder. Jokes apart. Here's the thing. When we mess up empathy, it's the effort that counts. Sure, we are going to slip. We are human. But those moments of trying, even if they go hilariously wrong, like getting a 20-point to do list checklist, right? Still show the people around us that we care. So if you have had your own empathy fails, like the time you asked someone if they were stressed and they were like, nope, just vibing, don't beat yourself up. Laugh it off. Learn from it and keep showing up. Now it's time to get practical because empathy isn't just a nice buzzword. It's something you can actually do. And when you do the right things and when you do it right, it becomes a leadership superpower. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, okay, but how do I actually do this without sounding fake or accidentally turning into a therapist? Don't worry. That's why I'm here. I'm breaking it down into three simple, actionable steps you can start using today. Let's go. Step one, start every conversation with curiosity. Instead of jumping to the conclusion, because let's be honest, that's what most of us leaders do, right? Just pause and ask questions like, what's going on? Or how can I support you? Here's the thing, curiosity changes the whole tone of a conversation. Let's say you got a team member who missed a deadline. Instead of storming into their office on their face or Slack DMs and saying, what's wrong with you? You could say, hey, is something getting in the way? That simple shift opens the door to problem solving instead of finger pointing. And look, if you're worried about sounding too soft, remember this, empathy doesn't mean you are handing out hugs and participation trophies. It means you are gathering data. And as far as I know, no one's ever gotten fired for being too informed, right? Now, step two, practice emotional validation. Yeah. I know this sounds like one of those phrases you would hear in couples therapy, but hear me out. Emotional validation is about acknowledging someone's feelings without trying to fix them or dismiss them. So, for example, if someone on your team says, I'm frustrated because I feel like I wasn't set up for success, don't jump in with, well, you should have asked for help. No, instead, saying something like, I get why you feel that way. Can you unpack? Sometimes that's all people need to hear to feel seen and heard. We have always we have all seen what happens when leaders don't validate emotion. Like when a CEO responds to layoffs with, well, it's just business. Well, that doesn't inspire loyalty, does it? It inspires rage tweets. But leaders who validate emotions, even in tough moments, they build trust that lasts. And then the third step, balance empathy with boundaries. Because here's the hard truth, empathy isn't about overextending yourself or taking on everyone else's problems. No, you can care deeply about your team, but you also have to protect your energy. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I have learned this a hard way. I kept saying, my door is always open. And guess what? People took me literally. I had team members popping in with everything from actual work crisis to, can you help me pick a font for the PowerPoint? Seriously. So I had to set boundaries like scheduling office hours and asking, is this urgent or can we talk about it later? And you know what? No one took it personally. In fact, it made me a better leader because let's be honest, if you're trying to help everyone with everything, you are not leading a team. You are running a daycare center. And last I checked, most of us didn't sign up for nap schedules and snack days, right? So here's my challenge for you this week. Lead one interaction with empathy. Any one interaction. Just one, whether it's with a coworker, a client, even with the barista who spelled your name Steve instead of saying, uh, start with curiosity, validate emotions, and set boundaries if you need to. Now, just notice how it shifts the conversation and connection. And hey, if it doesn't work, at least you tried. But I'm betting you'll be surprised at results. Now, another folklore I always share when I talk about empathy, the pause, and validation, I jokingly have always shared with all my employees every time, every team member I have ever had. The very first meeting with any of my team member, whether I came in new or they came in new, is very simple, and it starts with, I have failed myself at leaders. I failed myself as a leader because even after 25 years, I've not been able to develop the psychic power that most of the leaders they think they have. What I mean to say is, unless I hear from you, I will not presume anything. And unless you have heard from me, don't make assumptions. See how simplistically you said not only that I will pause, I will validate, I will check, and I will confirm. And you also set expectation that if I have not said, pause, validate, confirm. So today's episode, I mean, that's how I came with the name Shift Happens. Because as I've shared in other episodes, mindful practice starts with a moment, a moment of deep breath and a pause. I will get geeky, pause, because you have to break that sync of amygdala, your fight and flight running your day and your brain. And that pause and that breath activates your prefrontal cortex, the logical brain, and allows you to look at your emotions, get that cognitive clarity, and take action no matter how small that is. Right? So the shift happens when you practice. And leading an interaction with empathy is also pausing, asking questions, validating before you make assumptions, because making assumption is job of amygdala that keeps you on fight and flight mode. Asking questions, validating is role of your prefrontal cortex, your logical brain. So you need to have clarity. To get clarity, you need to have confirmation. To get confirmation, you need validation. To get validation, you need to ask questions. And to ask questions, you have to pause. Again, that simple pause, that simple question, that simple validation, that simple confirmation, that simple clarity makes you a great leader. All right. I hope you are walking away with a fresh perspective on empathy and how it can completely transform the way you lead, connect, and even handle that one coworker who seems to live on mute during Zoom calls, right? We have all been there. If you found this helpful, and I mean, come on, if how could you not, right? Share this episode with your team or send it to a friend who thinks empathy means crying during every roll call. And hey, leave a review. It helps more people find the show. And honestly, it just makes my day. And I would love to hear how you're practicing empathy this week. Did you ask better questions? Did you pause before hitting send on that email? Or did you go full Oprah and started handling out validation like free cars? Message me. I want to know. And don't forget to subscribe, because next week we are diving into supporting team well-being. Spoiler alert, it's about way more than free snacks in the break room. We are talking about real strategies to keep your team thriving physically, mentally, and emotionally. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. We do have the link for the purpose factor assessment. I encourage everyone to take the assessment and ping me to go through your review. Until next week, remember this: empathy isn't a weakness. It's not just a soft skill, it's the ultimate leadership superpower. So go out there, lead with purpose, and keep making shift happen. This is Singh, your podcast, Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives on the Transformation Network. Have a good day.
Thank you for watching Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives. With me, your host, Singh. We are honored to have you join us on this journey to explore the transformative power of mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and authentic leadership. Tune in every week on transformationtalkradio.com at noon Pacific on Tuesdays, where we will continue to explore how mindful leadership can create a ripple effect of positive changes in your life and lives of those you influence. This show is dedicated to helping you lead with purpose, presence, and passion. Whether you're navigating the complexities of business, building strong connection with your team, or striving to make a meaningful impact in the world around you. To learn more about the show, access additional resources, or dive deeper, visit singhpowerupcoach.com. Remember, leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are. Let's continue to transform lives together, one mindful moment at a time. See you next week.